Welcome to the SharkPod, the podcast that explores business and lifestyle design in Ireland and beyond. And now, live from Greystone Studios, here are your hosts, Luke Curry and Mark Baker.
What is up, Shark Nation? You're live with Luke Curry here and Mark Baker from Greystone Studios. Today is going to be a little bit different, but first of all, how are you doing, Mark?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
A few technical glitches at the start, but
it's always going to be a great time to be alive here with all the technology. We are gearing up. We've made some investments lately. We're going to have a kind of a mobile studio. It's on its way. It's going to be kind of give a layer of professionalism that maybe the podcast was missing over the last couple of episodes. But we started off by getting new cameras, so we should be good to go on that front. So our YouTube channel is going to be up and running. It's going to be great. So we're delighted about that. But today is a very special day because it's our first guest here on the SharkPod, and he made the journey all the way from Dublin down to Greystones today. How are you doing, Mr. Oliver Colliander?
Thank you very much. I'm doing extremely well on this beautiful Saturday, and thank you for inviting me over here to your Shark Nation podcast.
Well, he's a real shark. He's a real shark guy. This guy. Let me tell you. I was driving out to pick up Oliver today, and I thought to myself, all right, I was listening to a podcast, Mr. Timothy Ferris, that come up a few times on this podcast before, and I was listening to his one, and he had the
CEO of Disney.
Yeah,
I was listening to that too.
Bob Iger. Okay.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, whatever way you want to say that, I genuinely wanted to interview Oliver way more than Bob Iger. I knew this was going to be more interesting, because Bob was like, negotiation, it's you got to make sure everybody wins. We've heard that, Bob.
Yeah.
Right? We want to know.
Everybody
more.
Has a Steve Jobs story, Bob.
Yeah. It's like, Steve works hard. We get it. He was there's more than one successful person out there.
Yeah.
And the interesting people out there, right? So that's why we've got Oliver in here. So Mark has never met Oliver before. First impressions?
Tall.
Yeah. I never really...
Scandinavian?
He's Finnish, of Finnish descent, for sure.
Dubliners do call me Scandi Candy.
Scandi Candy. We might pause there for a second, guys, because the layers of the onion here. Let me give the listeners and Mark a bit of a background here. So me and Oliver worked together. Oliver has an interesting background. He was the first person that I put forward to be hired in HubSpot. So this isn't our first interview.
So you interviewed him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So back in April or something, was it?
Yeah.
Did you also find him, get his application and hire him and get a cut?
No. There was nothing in it for me. I was altruistic completely. But it was an interesting. So let me. I'll set the scene. We've interviewed a few people at this stage. A lot of people from Sweden, Denmark. I mean, they're very similar backgrounds that we were interviewing that day. Kind of slick back hair, very cookie cutter. Kind of Scandinavian guys, right? And then Oliver walks in. What are you 6'6" something?
Yeah, 6'6", 6'7". I use centimeters, it's easier terminology,
okay.
But
yeah.
What's that in centimeters?
200.
Wow.
Okay, 200 centimeters is 2 meters tall. Yeah. He walks in. He starts talking about how he moved to Finland from America when he was like 12 or something. Learned how to speak Finnish there. So even though he's a Finnish man, that was a big hurdle that he had to get over first. So that was really interesting to me. Then he talked about being in the Finnish military. Then he talked about being in the World Championships of beer pong in Las Vegas. And then so it just went on and on like this. And I was like, well, I want to see where this story is going. So we should offer this guy a job just to really dig in. So my point here is that this guy's done a lot in his 28 or 29?
28 years. Going on 29.
Okay, going on 29 years. So I wanted to really put you in the hot seat today, dig in and see what the story was. me and Mark had been speaking in the last couple of podcasts about my immigration story, moving to a new country, that kind of immigrant mentality. And we really were looking for somebody to come on to the SharkPod and have a chat to all the Shark Nation out there, as you mentioned.
I love it, by the way.
And give the kind of a perspective of people coming to Ireland, because like when we were kids, Ireland, we didn't see Ireland as the land of opportunity where people would come here. You know?
No, it was the opposite.
Yeah. So maybe we might dig into a little bit about that. So why don't you start off by let's start the narrative off at the beginning here. You were born in America.
No, I was actually born in Sweden.
Okay.
And you're at the buddy.
I think you're gonna learn a lot today.
Yeah, okay,
More
okay.
than you thought.
Lived there for a year, moved to Stockholm. My younger sister was born there. Moved to Germany. In Germany, my youngest sister was born, and then moved to the States.
Okay. So you were an international man before you were a teenager.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what was your first language then?
Well, I would say maybe English.
Really?
Yeah, my dad always speaks Swedish with us. But then again, Finnish comes from my mother's side.
Okay.
But English was kind of the, going to Germany. I had 9. That's about my German skills. But it was an English school.
I thought that was your age.
About 9. Okay, I like it.
Going to English preschool and all that, and then moving over to the U.S. I mean, all school was always in English. So at home you picked up stuff, but kids moving around, going Swedish and Germany didn't really help me a lot. So English picked up the most there in the beginning.
Okay. And what's the story? So I know you moved around a lot because your dad used to work for. I met your dad. He actually came up in one of the other podcasts, I think.
Did he?
I think so. The kind of Kirk Douglas looking guy.
Oh yeah.
Great guy. We're going to dig into that as well. But so he used to work. This is another little tidbit that Oliver told me as well. His dad used to work for Gillette, right? And that's why he Oliver was moving all around the world. And you can maybe put the story straight here, but he was part of the team that came up with Gillette, the best a man can get.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was on
He's
that
been dining out
marketing
for
team,
years on that, hasn't he?
But actually, there's a cooler story behind that. Is also I know how shaving gel is not made.
Okay. I don't know if that's cool.
If you like product development and how products are made,
I like it.
it's actually made from old ice cream making machines.
Really?
Yeah, it's
And so some entrepreneur came up with that idea and was like,
yeah, or actually, well, my dad was part of that team as well. But
So he invented shaving foam, almost.
Well, the gel form of it.
Okay.
So that is gel, and then you put it in your hand and you mix it, and then it becomes foam. That's the part of it.
Yeah.
Where
What's that got to do with ice cream?
well, this machine, the ice cream machine, is cold enough and has the similar effects that it can make it into gel. Then they compress it, and when it comes out as foam.
Okay. Wow.
interesting. So your dad's out there. He's an innovator. He's turning the world of shaving foam on its head, and he's dragging you along with him around the world. So you become an American citizen. Is that? Are you? What's your status there?
No, actually, well, half of my family still lives in the U.S. So
okay.
my granddad, Valmet, used to make military equipment. Nowadays makes steel. But they moved over to the U.S. when my dad was 6, 7.
Okay.
And then he went to school all the way through college in the U.S. Then came back to Finland for military service. And we're a really peaceful nation, by the way, even though this sounds...
Yeah, right. We're going to dig into that. These people got bunkers all over Helsinki. Actually, let me pause you there for 1 second, because I thought this is good for context as well. Me and Oliver, right? This is a scene that really kind of bonded us, right? He kind of pushed me along in my own maybe shame-free development. We were in September. We were in a I don't know why I'm jumping into this story now, but we were in Helsinki. We were chasing a deal together, and we actually had one of the people at our target company out with us one morning, and we went to do the Helsinki thing, which is the sauna, right? So picture this: we walk in. It's the kind of the main sauna in the city. It's down by the seafront.
Yeah.
And we go in. I have my shorts on. that Irish Catholic shame, taking, I'm gonna go to a business meeting in this sweatbox, right? And then Oliver put his giant hand on my shoulder and he's like, "Lose the shorts." I don't know what the hell was going on. And after the rest is history. No, no. So I stripped down. Right, I'm really pushing myself out of my comfort zone here. I'm with a business client. We're all naked. We're all sweating, and we closed the deal. So
and is that normal?
Yeah.
Behavior.
I hope it is.
No.
Not at all.
I mean, being naked in a sauna in Finland is normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with everybody.
Yeah.
Like family members, there's no
Yeah, your next door neighbors, your
neighbors.
like it's a public sauna as well. You can go with somebody who's like maybe not the president, but anybody.
Okay.
That's how we brought up.
Wow.
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah. So
We're working on that.
Yeah, I feel liberated. I'm kind of working on that shame right now. But I thought I'd color this conversation with kind of the bond that me and Oliver now share.
And have you tried to implement that deal making strategy in Dublin?
Every time I get naked in a deal, no, it's not something I brought home to.
So
Gracelands.
in the States, whereabouts in the States did you live?
In Massachusetts, Boston, and San Francisco,
Okay.
Redwood City, and that's where my love for American football comes as well.
Oh yeah, he plays American football too,
I used to.
as well as beer pong.
Over here.
No, I played in Finland.
Okay. And how long have you been in Dublin?
Now we're coming on a year soon.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I think 9 months, something like that.
So what was your views, or did you know much about Ireland before you came over? I'm always interested to know.
So there was a funny part about that. My granddad, my half grandmom, as I like to put it, is actually Irish.
Okay.
Close from
What?
Yeah. I knew I had something that I hadn't told yet. From Lahinch, or close to Lahinch, and they have a small cabin still there.
I didn't know this at all. You're keeping this from us.
Well, I heard I'm coming to a podcast. I have to have something that's
Okay.
shocking.
Okay. What the hell was she doing in Finland?
Well, no, they actually met in the U.S.
Oh,
Because
okay.
my granddad, so he never
Full
came back to live in Finland. He only comes back during the summers.
Okay, full
So-
circle.
yeah.
I like it.
So that's why half the family still lives in the U.S.
So
and,
had you been to Ireland before you moved here?
once
Okay.
on a
And-
school trip. So nothing to do with relatives or anything else.
And do you know any Gaelic language?
Isk.
Fish?
Which means fish.
See, I knew that.
Boom, Shark Nation.
Rampies.
What's shark?
What?
Rampies.
Rampies.
I read that off a sign when I was coming.
Oh,
when we were
ramps.
driving over. Yeah,
Ramps. Yes. Okay. Speed bumps. For you non-Irish speakers.
Which Luke ignored. 'Cause we were running late.
Rampies. I was running late here. I was trying to deliver Oliver to the podcast today. Mark was waiting in my driveway. But anyway, yeah. So it's an interesting thing. So when you were growing up in Finland, for the most part,
Yep.
you moved there when you're 12 or something.
12,
Okay.
11.
You don't speak Finnish.
Nope.
Um,
Or I can, the normal thank yous and can
Yeah.
I have a piece of bread? That I had nailed from
Okay.
my mom.
and how do you go about learning the new language when you get there, when you're 12?
In the beginning, thank God I had two sisters with me, so it made it easier. Like my mom really started cracking down on less English, more Finnish or Swedish, because Finland is a two language country.
Okay.
I don't know what the correct term in English is for that, but
Bilingual.
bilingual, yes. And then we went first to. I was put into a Finnish classroom. Sat there looking at weird leathers and stuff like that, and then I was put, thank God, for 6 months or a year into a like an English speaking class, but
Okay.
everybody was Finnish,
Nice.
so it was kind of like a more of a dial into it. But after that, I decided that I'm Finnish. I have to learn the language and put myself back into school all the way through to college in Finnish.
Isn't
I
that
just
incredible?
went at it.
Wow.
That's especially because it's such a small country as well, to commit to learning the language at that
Yeah.
stage.
You know all about that, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Learning Irish.
Learning Irish to speak to another 200,000 people, if that. So the interesting thing is, what I'm always interested when I speak to people that are in Ireland. I love seeing people come to Ireland, do well, get into like a sales job like you, or do anything. Like it's going to grow our country, right? But what I'm always interested in is, if you didn't listen to Shark SharkPod 2 yet. We talk about how Irish people, when they're growing up, a lot of people have a plan. A lot of people are thinking about going to California, Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that. When you're in Finland, is anyone thinking, "Gee, I can't wait to grow up and go to Ireland"?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Not yet.
I mean,
well, let's put it this way.
we've taken you in. And
No. I don't really think that people think about, like, usually it's the U.S. Just because everybody knows money is there. Most people talk about that. And I think, like, then the older you get, the more longer you're in college, you learn to speak to people who go abroad, maybe get a job in Ireland. I had a friend who worked here at Salesforce. That's why I heard a bit around, like, what's it like to live here. But I think people start opening up their eyes that the U.S. is not the only target.
Yeah.
There are places closer.
Yeah.
Or then people just decide, okay, Finland's a nice little cozy place to just lay down.
The fact is, a lot of foreign nationals will come to Ireland because of the US the US companies that are over here.
Yeah.
You know, so in a way, it's still the American dream. You know, on the Emerald Isle.
Yeah, the Irish twist. I like it. So, another thing about coming to Ireland from Scandinavia, the Nordics? Finland is not part of the Scandinavia, right?
Well,
technically, I've been corrected a few times by some Finns.
You said we wouldn't get into that in political.
Yeah. But
I don't like admitting it. That's why I'm saying technically.
So one of the other things that I find is interesting is that when I moved to Vancouver, it was so far away that I couldn't really come home very easily. And do you think if you're coming to Ireland, is it just a lot of people go back to whether it be Denmark or Norway, France and stuff like that? Is it just too easy to just jump on a Ryanair flight to get back?
Yeah, I mean, like, here it's so easy to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I think living here in Dublin, you can go anywhere. Ryanair doesn't fly in Finland. So there's a big difference there on
okay, so maybe
flight
that's why you're stuck here. Yeah, whatever.
No, but I mean, like, it's kind of like gateway into Europe because of all the U.S. companies that are here. I think flights. I love the Dublin airport. I know that's a weird thing to say.
Big up Dublin Airport, DAA. What's up?
Yeah. They have an awesome little pub in the airport that's why I usually rock up early to airport. I never do that.
Yeah.
But here in Ireland, I like rocking up to the airport, sitting down, watching people, having a cold liquid black gold, as I call it, Guinness, if people don't know what that is, and enjoying life. I enjoy Dublin in a whole as well, but getting around is easy. So it's not like Europe is one big home, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's a nice way to think about it. So now that
tell the British that.
Tell the British that. Come on,
they're
guys.
not in Europe anymore. Or well, they are technically, but
they're like, get over it. Let's all work together here. We all like no borders, stuff like that. But the interesting thing about Finland is, and I've been to all, as you know, I've been to all the Nordic countries several times. Finland, I'd say, is my favorite place to visit because they're kind of the most like Irish. They're maybe not as serious about themselves. They're a little bit more
loose.
A bit more loose with like when you eat with Finnish people, it's big meals. It's like, there's lots of there's some booze involved as well. What they were well used to. But in general, it's really, really great. But one of the things I think that our listeners would think is interesting is you all have to serve your country to a certain extent, right? You got to go and do your military service. So let's kind of one of the interesting things is you learn the new language right now. Not only are you going to learn the new language, you're going to become militarized and kind of have to kind of learn to defend yourselves from maybe grumpy neighbors. We know all about that.
Yeah.
So what's the process there? How old are you when you go into the military, and what's the story there?
You get a letter home when you're 18 saying rock up to this. Well, it tells you where to rock up. It's usually a school or a city hall or something. Then you're fenced in like little sheep into this big classroom where they show you some propaganda movies. Well, not really propaganda movies, but about what's going on.
Yeah.
And you sit there, then a man opens up a door and yells a name. And they disappear. You never see them again.
What?
Yeah. And then
could they be your friends? You know these people or what?
Yeah. Well, it goes with your according to your surname's first letter. who's in that room. So usually Colliander's with a C, so that says A, B, and C would be in the room,
Okay.
surnames. And then they go in, you walk, well, actually, when you walk through that door, there's a room full of almighty generals and stuff. Well, not generals, but like military people who start asking questions. What do you want to do? Have you thought about how long you want to be in the military? All that. And then they give you a piece of paper and say, well, that's the date you're going in.
Okay. And you get to choose, say, I want to fly jets. How does that work?
Well, if you want to do any of those a bit higher up things, you go through tests. So then the moment after you've
too
been
tall
through
for that anyway.
I would have loved to be Top Gun number 2, but thank God the movie's coming out. But
yeah, I'd like to see you on those on that beach playing beach volleyball with the guys. That'd be great.
with Goose.
With Goose just naked again. Just no shame. Okay, cool. And what's the story? Okay, so what's the story then? You get your papers. You're now up for this because you've watched the propaganda movies. You're ready to go. What's the kind of next step? Do you go in and they kind of sort the wheat from the chaff? What's the next move?
So the doctor's already giving you your papers before going in. So you're A, B, or C.
Okay.
A means you're a qualified soldier or like you're fit for duty.
Okay.
B means you're kind of fit for duty, but not action duty. Like you'll be a cook or a cleaner or something like that. And then C's just don't go in.
Okay.
So they get relieved for a while.
Okay. What are they? Are they fat people? Are they? What's the?
No. Obesity is not a reason not to go into the military. They'll shape you up. But
Nice.
it's actually like if you have like a bone
injury or
that's
something.
like your knees are really weak, so you couldn't carry anything, or your back is twisted or anything like that. Would be a liability for the army. So then they just say don't come in.
Okay.
Or if you're mentally not stable either, so they go through that as well.
And they let you in. Okay, that one got through the net there. Okay, so you're there. You're going through training. You've told me all these stories about the being in the army, and getting after it, which is great, right? We're all big fans of Jocko Willink around here, right? So I got you that book.
Jacko.
Yeah,
Extreme ownership.
I got Extreme Ownership for Oliver.
Good.
So yeah, it's good. So he's getting through that. But he told me these stories that really, for someone who's never been to the military, people like me and Mark who've just been looking after ourselves, our own interests, and not our countries. What's the story with the training? I remember you were telling me that they're keeping you up all week.
Yeah, so I went through NCO training. So they want to basically.
What's NCO?
So
Probably
non-commissioned officer.
Okay.
So you basically you'll be a team lead or lead a group of people, and they basically want to test how long your brain or your mentality keeps up. So they'll keep you up for 5 days straight and make you do stuff, or they'll let you sleep for 5 minutes and then they'll shoot guns and then you have to run out and like just make it as miserable as possible, and they'll be raining on you and all kinds of stuff. But
How old are you then?
I went in when I was 20.
Okay.
So
For how long?
I was there for a year, and after that I continued. It's a process. It's really hard to shortly explain, but everybody in Finland is in the reserves. But in the reserves, you have active reserves or reserves. So I was in the active reserves until I moved here to Dublin, where I was pulled out.
Have you gone AWOL?
He's gone AWOL. He is at large. He may or may not be in Greystones right now. We cannot confirm or deny where this guy
We'll blur
is.
your face out. Don't worry.
So the guys there, you've signed up for this, right?
Yeah.
So you get selected based on performance. Is that it?
Yeah. So everybody goes through basic training.
Okay.
That's 2 months.
Okay.
And basically the idea is we call it the company knows best.
Okay.
So, or the firm. That's what we call that army.
Wow.
And they
cool.
know, yeah. Then they have all kinds of tests, running tests, how you just get along with people, your demeanor, all that kind of stuff. And then you go into during a camp, your officer comes over and tells you, hey, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. Get better on that, but I want you to go to wherever you're going.
And what did you learn about yourself from those tests?
Just generally, I learned that I can do a lot more than what's comfortable. I think, like when your body tells you no, you can keep going. There's a famous guy and an officer who told us when you start throwing up, you've only used 33% of your body's capabilities.
Is that bro science, or is that real?
Now hold on, Mark. Bro science is okay on the SharkPod. We've been living by it for a long time. But I know what you mean. Like, are you?
I think it's probably true. You know.
Yeah, it's an interesting point though, and it's something that I think like so for people that don't know, Oliver works on the direct sales team in HubSpot for the Nordics. So I think having this mindset, being kept up all week, being your people telling you that if you when you vomit, it's only a third of the way there.
Is this in HubSpot or the army?
and I think that really, you know, it's going to make you successful, because if you got to make 10 phone calls, it's not really going to phase you. You know, when people are waking you up with rifles.
Yeah, over here you could get to 35 quite easily without having to make a difficult phone call.
Pretty much. Yeah. So it's
so what else did you learn about yourself? What were your strengths and what were your weaker or areas that for improvement, as they say?
Afterwards, I would have said, don't be first. That's what I've told everybody. Never be first, never be last.
Why?
When you're first, people
be
start
lost in the pack.
Yeah, you basically start standing out. And in the army, you know, you're basically a number for them. But when you start standing out, you start getting all the attention. Sometimes it's good attention, sometimes it's bad.
I just thought of a title for your autobiography: Never Finish First or Last. Sorry, go ahead.
Or last.
But yeah, like that sometimes is not the best idea being first. Just because then that way people will remember your name. Remember, the army in Finland just keeps on bringing people in and out. So if you're first all the time, your NCOs, your officers will remember your name and not maybe everybody else's. So if there's a bad job to do, they're right. Oliver, come over here. What do you need me to do? And then you'll be put in that pack.
Okay.
But on competitions, always finish first.
Yeah.
There's that part of it. So you kind of maybe that's a hard way to describe it, but
it's very
it's
interesting.
an army way.
Because it's
know when to be first. That's maybe a better way to put it.
Don't you love when you ask a question and you get an answer where you didn't expect it? Because in a lot of interviews, like the Bob Iger one, everything that he asked was everything that the interviewer was asking, like I knew what the question or the answer was going to be, kind of. But when you're talking about, you know, there is a benefit maybe of blending in sometimes strategically to get to the goals. That's interesting as well.
Yeah, I've experienced that in work career early on.
Maybe into light.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't
stay under the radar. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, while you're doing your work, like
you're working. That felt like the army at times, but
less shells and grenades, perhaps, but you know, just more calculators. So with the timeline here, what did after all the training, they see that you're kind of standing out. You're going to lead a team. What did you end up doing in the military when you were ready to go?
I was actually captain of a naval vessel.
Okay.
So, amphibious landing crafts.
Okay, so you're going to be storming the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically, it's a platoon of guys who you work in twos. You're in charge of everybody on the boat and about the boat. And you go around the rocky archipelago of Finland at 40 knots. So what's that?
Pretty fast, guys.
That's around 70 to 80 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And then,
as fast as a shark, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jaws, you know, maybe would have kept up. Yeah. But do I get a point for that?
No, you do. Because we got some shark points that we're divvying out to our guests. So any type of pun or anything like that, you can. You know, it doesn't have to be a pun, but if it's a relation to the sea or fish or anything, we've got
Finnish.
Yeah, Finnish. He's our first Finnish guy here, Finland.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah. Anyways, so basically, you had 30 guys underneath, waiting, and then you had times and stuff like that. You which shoot into the idea is then you cover when you're coming in. You have 8 boats next to each other. It's a cool scene of everybody turning at the same time and just hammering into the rocks basically with the boat, and then you drop the front latch and everybody runs out. You either you then drive off or then you secure your boat and join the fight with the guys.
This is way better than Top Gun. I don't know what you're talking about.
It is kind of cool. It's like storming beaches and stuff. And so basically it's kind of like a paranoia a little bit in Finland. That's what it feels like, but in a good way. Everyone's ready to get going. Do you know? So like in Helsinki, they've got caves that they've built under the city where you can put 2 million people under.
Really?
Not really 2 million, but 80% of Helsinki can go underground.
Why?
We've had troublesome neighbors in the past.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
keep it
Yeah. So when these guys, they're ready
to the east.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're ready to go at any time.
Wow.
So like you told me as well, all of the bridges are ready to be blown up if they have to like burn the.
Really?
All the highways can be used as a. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell this all on a podcast, but I mean, like,
This
we're
isn't
ready.
government secrets, is it?
But like, we're ready in that way, in that sense. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do if something happens.
So don't don't go to war with the Finns in winter, especially. We were there in September. It was freezing.
Yeah.
We actually went shooting guns when we were out there as well with your dad, which was great fun. So that was the military thing. Why is it possible for you to keep going with that? Or did you say I don't want to do this anymore? Why did you leave the military?
Yeah, it's possible. Like you can stay on as we call them summer sergeants. To figure out, like, you basically work as a commissioned officer.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you usually start with 6 months. They check how you're doing. You're basically training the new NCOs to become NCOs, and they ask you if you want to stay, or you can go apply to be a peacekeeper. Basically, go to the military college.
Yeah.
And anything like that. But for me, I mean, I was there nonstop for a year, had ups and downs. Another question, what I learned, team goes first. That's a lesson that I've always taken afterwards.
As in, let people go ahead of you.
Especially on
the front line.
Yeah, put the others on the beach first.
The team comes first. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Team comes first every time. It makes life a lot easier.
Okay.
Especially in the army, like without the guys, there would have been times when I would have been crying in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah.
But
and you obviously have lifelong friends now because of that.
Yeah.
I assume, yeah.
We keep contact with everybody. Like it's tight packed. Even though we were only a year, nobody really shot at us.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you're still in a small area.
You sound disappointed.
No one shot at us. Yeah, no, I get it.
What's the size of the army and then the population of Finland, just for context?
Yeah. So our active army, people right now without conscripts and all that, is 50,000 people.
Okay.
Our reserves are 1.2 million.
Interesting.
Boom.
And at all times, you'll have more people getting trained up. But basically, every man or woman who wants to join, but every man doesn't have a choice. They have been trained in some way, or then you can choose to go to jail for 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. Or you can do civil service nowadays.
Are those people called cowards? I don't know. So what's the vibe there?
I do know a guy who decided that the last U2 concert, U2, right, the band concert was
we've heard of them.
Yeah. Was more important than showing up to the army, and he decided to go to jail for 6 months.
Can we get him on the podcast?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now moving a little bit along because we're cutting into time here. I don't want to take up your whole day. We'd love to get you on here just because there's a few interesting bits as well, right? So let's talk a little bit about business. Let's talk about after you left, you were working for a tech company in Finland, who you and me then sold HubSpot to eventually. What was the career path there? There was a few. It always seems whenever I talk to you, there's some business idea or there's some URL that you've just bought. What's the?
I own 3 now, so if you want to buy them, just hit me up on LinkedIn.
What are they?
Getoffdata.
.com.
No, IO. Actually, it's getoff.io.
I thought it was going to be a different type of site when you told me.
That could go anywhere. Yeah, you can go anywhere.
Yeah. Then you have one's back to the 80s.
Back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Dot what?
.com.
Oh.
Or no, I have to check that. I don't remember these domains. It's just ideas going on, and GoDaddy is an easy place to buy these domains off. So, I buy them for a few years. I use. I have a birthday bash coming up this July, so I'm actually building a website just for that.
Okay.
And that's where the 80s domain is coming into.
Okay.
Very good.
But what's the so you're working for the software company in Finland? Like what made you get into software? What was the path there?
I always like in college anywhere. I always thought like people undervalued. This was the back in the days. That sounds like ages ago, but if you asked 5 years ago, I mean, I feel like the internet just getting bigger. But I always thought like software is the way everything's going. Like SaaS, EOS, POS. I can go. You can just put OS after everything, and like it's something nowadays. But that was just something that I believe will just get bigger, and I just wanted to get a piece of the pie as fast as possible.
And Finland has an incredible like love of tech startups. I've never seen anything like this. So many. The government are crazy for supporting these companies as well. You just have to like write into them. They send you like 50 grand or something. Is that something like that?
Yeah, well, you have to have a business plan.
Oh yeah.
But then they give you like a startup money. Well, no, well, yes, but it's basically 50 grand to get you off when they.
So you send them your business plan, and they if it's worth it, they'll give you up to 50 grand.
Yeah,
we need to.
No, it's 50 grand.
Oh, is it?
It's a 50 grand check. So imagine in Ireland what the creativity we could unleash if we had that type of mentality with the government. The government aren't supporting companies like that. They've got agencies that are help you with this and that, but it's not funding for almost everybody. Like the amount, like there's a big thing called Slush that goes on in Finland every year. It's a big like web summit type thing, and it's all the startups, and it's like an incredible amount of Finnish startups. And so a lot of them obviously get washed out, but like a lot of them are sticking now and really starting to grow. There's a few that come to mind. Volt is one. It's pretty.
Mark Zuckerberg likes them.
Yeah, exactly. So like a delivery app type thing, but there's so many of them, and I'm always surprised that with all of the big companies that are here. Intel has been here for like 40 years, right? IBM's been here for a long time. Why isn't Ireland like the hub for the startup scene as well? I know we've got some startups, but not like Finland, not like some of the places that I've been to. I think
it's getting there, but way slower. When you look around yourself and you see Facebook, you see AIB building in ruins and Facebook being built in place of it.
Yeah,
you know, there's good kind of imagery there, like, you know, but yet they're bringing in the big players. Yeah. And that's all everybody can see. Yeah. But yet they're not supporting the startups as easily. The special treatment for agriculture businesses and stuff like that, but I feel like the government are probably dropping the ball a little bit, or a little bit behind with the funding and stuff for startups. But on the tech side, sorry.
It might even be like a mindset thing as well, because when I'm working with, like, most of the people that I work with, like, no one's talking really about starting their own business or, you know, building their own version of HubSpot or anything. You could if you wanted to. It would cost money and it would be a long road to go. But at least, like, you know, my point is, you'd think that there'd be so many spin-offs all over the place. So it's something that we need to maybe address.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm sure there's lots of stuff going on that we don't know about on the tech startup side. But it's not, if it's not obvious to us, it's not obvious enough, I would say. Because we're off that mindset, you know. It's
true. And we really reached out to a lot of people that we're going to be interviewing for this podcast around the kind of startup scene around Ireland. And we got an incredible, like, we only started reaching out to people yesterday, and I've got an incredible feedback. People really want to talk about this, get the word out. So we're going to do our best to do that. And hopefully by providing a platform for those people to get their word out to people who are like-minded, that type of tribe that we were talking about, I think it's going to be, hopefully do a small thing towards you know, having a country with more startups and more innovation and stuff like that. That's my little rant on what's to come up in the future.
So it sounds a bit like Finland and Ireland, you know, have a lot of things in common. Do they? Or are we just thinking that?
No, I think it is. Like, the transition wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, different language, but if you know English, it's not that hard. People are, I would say, even say friendlier. Finnish people, you know, there's a saying that your neighbor will pay somebody 50 euros so that you won't make 100. But I mean, like, they're both friendly, and like, I mean, I haven't had any hard transitions. Of course, you know, getting used to wrong side traffic. Well, for you guys, it's right side, but I mean, on the wrong side of it. But all those small things. But it wasn't that hard. I mean, the weather is what it is, but in Finland, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So. And when it comes to that entrepreneur mindset, is there any similarity? Do you see much difference? You probably surround yourself with people like Luke, so you're probably skewed a little bit, but, in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe a bit. People more, like, if you think about what Luke is special, I would put this way, but the other Irish people I know, they are more like looking at building careers in companies that are already there.
Yeah.
I do know people who talk about their friends coming up with companies and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's more like you don't want to take a huge risk. When in Finland, when the government has your back, all that, it's much easier to take that huge risk. And like, hey, I'll borrow over 500,000 for a company, and if it goes down, the government will help me out.
It's interesting in Finland. It's like they just have this thing like everything's gonna be okay. That's the feel that I get from
I think in Ireland it feels like once you finish college, you're obviously put on this track where you go to school, you finish when you're 18, you go to college, maybe it could be 5 years in college, 6 years even. Then you might go a year traveling, and then all of a sudden you're quite grown up and time starts ticking. And then if you don't save and get a house fairly soon, it's going to say it takes 3 or 4 years to get what you want, you could be left renting for the rest of your life. So it all comes down to the price of land and property. I think that is holding people back pursuing their dreams. I feel it is anyway. It's in the background there, a bit of an elephant in the room. It's so expensive. You could end up paying $2,500 a month rent in a 2-bedroom apartment, for the rest of if you don't sort it out at the start. So therefore you have to get in and get a job and earn at least 50k a year to get the mortgage, and then you're stuck, and then you're not going to take a risk. Then you have a kid, and then
so it all starts happening very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think in Finland as well, there is because I've spoken to thousands of people over the Nordics at this stage, thousands of business owners or people high up and stuff. One of the biggest things about the Nordics generally, and maybe Finland, is they care about what they do more than what they are making, it seems like. So if somebody is like, I've talked to people in Finland of like quite small companies, but they're director of sales or chief marketing officer, and they're the whole department, but they're happy enough with that, and they've got a pride about they want the job title. It's a big deal there, it seems like. So am I just making that up or what?
No. I mean, there are companies that I've also spoken to they're happy, like they're making enough money, like they don't want to make more, or that means expanding which means more work.
Yes, that's a big thing that I'm glad you brought that up, because Mark, this is so strange that we sell software that hopefully makes their company more money.
Yeah.
But if you sometimes you speak to these, imagine in Ireland, if someone calls Darwin Hawkins, they're like, I've got this software, it's actually going to make you guys more money. You're going to be interested in that.
Of course,
for sure.
Yeah.
But if you talk to some companies in Finland, they go, oh no, that sounds like we might, if you have more customers, that would be more work. We're like, yeah.
Really?
And then you have to employ more people, which means there's like
and that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
It's really, really interesting. Different culture, like.
Yeah.
But if you look at also how the small and mid-biz companies in Finland build revenue to Finland itself, or like employment, I think the last figures were 92 or 94% of companies that are employers are small and medium businesses, and the rest are bigger ones. And then if you take that into another section, medium-sized businesses are, I think it's 30%, and the rest of it is small businesses.
Yes, lots of them.
Where like people might live somewhere in the middle of the woods, and their only job is they'll make fertilizer, and the guy's happy doing it, but he doesn't want to do anything else. He gets his paycheck, he's happy.
Yeah,
like it's a
different mindset.
Yeah,
but it's been super interesting having a chat with you today, because this is somebody who's moved to, you've been an immigrant all your life, kind of, right? In some way. So you've always taken that mentality, and I know you've taken that into HubSpot as well, and it's been good. It's been great working with you and stuff like that. We do have some quick fire questions here that we want to pick your brain on.
Okay. How long have we got on the clock?
We've got 7 minutes.
Okay. So
here we go.
I'm going to get charconated here.
Yeah.
What apps do you use the most?
Apps, Facebook, actually Netflix. If I have to say one, it's Netflix.
What's your favorite social media and why?
Instagram nowadays, it's just Facebook is dying, kind of.
Big words.
Well, it's the same company, but I mean.
Yeah. What's the best business idea you never acted upon?
I have it in my head right now. Still, I haven't acted on it.
No.
So,
that you're not gonna. That you're probably not gonna do.
But maybe when I was 20, having a hot dog stand based off wild boar meat. The Finnish government actually gives you money for every boar you hunt. Because they have a disease, or they might have a disease, so they try to thin them out. So you could get paid for the meat you hunt, and then sell that during the summer.
Well, I was just watching wild boar attack videos last night. Actually,
if the sharks out there are listening, that's a great idea. Move to Finland and get going on that.
Yeah. What time do you get up in the morning, and what time do you go to sleep?
Right now, 6:15. Go to sleep is between 11 and 12.
Similar enough to me. If you could do business anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Anywhere where there's money. Where your product fits. I mean.
Where do you think that is? US?
I think, well, the cheesy answer is the internet.
Okay, yeah, no, good. What kinds of people would you like to connect with for business?
Anybody who wants to do anything.
Very
do
broad.
Anything, do anything. It like has that mindset of doing something.
A doer.
Yeah, rather than sitting and doing your job day out, day in.
You are talking to doers out there in Ireland. For the people that are watching the Shark Nation pod here, or SharkPod. Shark Nation, SharkPod keeps getting mixed up. And I'm going.
How much money is enough money?
Oh.
Well, I actually have this weird figure in my head. 12 million.
Okay. Very specific. Maybe you got to expand on that, Oliver. Let's go.
Basically, so with 4.5 million, I could buy a yacht, sail around the world. That's my dream. Just go, from port to port, meet interesting people. That would be great. And then the rest of the money, you could buy a house, rent that out, put it just to interest rates will bring you more money, give you capital to spend, and not think about money. I mean, you can go for $1 billion, but then you'll be working all your life. That way,
12 million is a nice round number.
What do you fear?
Snakes.
Not really what we were going for.
What age do you plan to retire?
42.
Always so specific. Is it what you know or who you know?
I would say I used to think that it's what you know, but the older you get, the wiser you get, and it's actually who you know.
Okay.
They always help you along the path of if you ever need help.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's
so
who you know and then what
making
you know.
Relationships and stuff along the way. If you could advise someone to learn one skill, what would it be?
Talking to people. There's so many people who are awkward people talking to people. I think if you want to go in sales, of course. But I mean, just being able to be social and put yourself in awkward situations and get to know people, I think that's something that most people should do in the world. Because that way, the perception about evil in the world and all that, most of the people, I went to Africa, everybody's lovely. But if you think about it right now, you will go like, maybe it's their poverty, remember not to get robbed, all that.
Yeah.
But talk to people, you'll notice that everybody has a good heart, or 99% of people do.
Good. What book would you recommend to the 18-year-old Oliver?
Extreme Ownership.
Okay.
I've been reading that book, and trust me, if I would have read that when I was 18, maybe I would have started my hot dog stand. And
we'd be sitting here with some sauerkraut on our beautiful hot dogs.
What advice would you give to the 18-year-old Oliver?
Go with your dreams, and take risks when you're young. When you have a family, don't do it. I don't have a family, but I mean, I've listened to enough people who have, and they're all pissed off that they never did a dream or something. Just do it. Do it when you can.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and
I like it.
Don't stop at no.
Maybe one more. What's the one more that that you need to know from Oliver?
That I need to know. I'm interested to know what you're gonna do next.
What's next?
My own business.
Okay.
Wild boar meat.
Well, I won't put it on the internet, but it's coming. Latest at 32.
Okay. So we've got 4 years. The clock is ticking. We're going to interview you on the SharkPod 4 years from now. And if you're not doing what you said you're going to do, I'm not going to be happy with you. Okay. So now
I'll bring you a big stuffed shark.
Yeah. Okay, maybe, well, that might sweeten it up, but I really wanted to see you take action here. But so I'd like to, honor you for coming all the way down here. It's been great to talk to you. I know we're stuck for time. We could talk literally all day. We didn't talk about the beer ping pong championship. We didn't talk about you hanging out with Ellison at the America's Cup. We could have talked about that. We didn't even get into it.
I think we have you back on again.
Yeah, we'll have you back on. Once we get set up with our new studio equipment, we'll be able to do phone-ins. We'd love to give you a call and get your hot take on different aspects. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or Shark Take.
Yeah, the Shark Take. I don't know if you're getting
Shark
points.
Bite.
Shark Bite. I'm looking for a new bite here. Can I get Oliver on the line? Okay, cool. So thanks very much for coming in. It's been great, and we're going to end our podcast a little bit earlier than we usually do. So I guess we like to leave the listeners with something, a takeaway here. So what do you think would be the takeaway, Mark? It was kind of like when you're 18. What's the takeaway here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Act now.
Like
if you're already 35, like I am.
Yeah.
Do it now rather than when you're 45.
The best time.
Not when you're 65. Get that out of your head. God damn it. I wish people would stop thinking about retirement.
Yeah. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now, Shark Nation. So get out there, get after it. Thanks very much, Oliver, for coming in.
Cheers, Oliver.
Thank you very much.
Can't wait to get you on again and dig in even further into the mind of Oliver Colliander.